Hello! Today we have a very special guest. This is Theron Hill. Theron is an optician who recently moved from Ohio to Greenville, South Carolina. So he's right next door. He asked if he could stop by. Of course, I said sure. And of course, in a moment, I'm going to put him to work.
Hello, I'd like to welcome you to the Laramy-K Optician Works Training Center, where today John will be talking about figure 8 liner.
I think you got it.
Okay.
Don't tell anybody else, but I would have included figure 8 liner in how to restring a cord mount frame, but, well, I'd actually run out of it, so it had to wait for today. In a very traditional figure 8 design, if I cross-sectioned a piece of that frame and I looked at it directly on, it would look roughly like that. There is a channel, a groove, a hole cut into the eye wire. Into that sits your figure 8 liner. This sits above the frame. This is what catches the groove that's put in the lens. This is most of the time. Figure 8 liner is pretty consistent across almost all frames, but of course there are exceptions. You also have T liner, where the frame only has a shallow groove and you have a piece of plastic that fits into the groove and then has the tongue that catches the groove that's on the lens. Pro Design used to have a whole lot of those. You have frames that are designed with a solid tongue. This is actually a piece of the frame. This is metal. And then there are also plastic versions. I'll give you a close-up of that over at the bench. You have solid, and then you have solid inserts that run along the top of the eye wire chassis. And make a note, if you have something like that, if you have something like this, if you have a new line coming in, the same for nose pads and temple ends, that are not generic, are not something that you're going to be able to pull from your stock and replace, make sure you order some of those parts and pieces for that new frame line so that you can make a repair if necessary. We talked about this last time when we talked about restringing a cord mount frame. Make sure that you leave a gap between your two holes where your cord comes through and tucks and where your figure 8 liner begins. If you have this too close, your cord is going to hit it and it's not going to have anywhere to go, and you're going to have something sticking out that's going to be quite ugly. 90% of the time when you have a damaged figure 8 liner, it's pretty straightforward. Just kind of goes back together the way it should. 10% of the time, you end up looking like this because you pull your hair out. That's for one of a couple of reasons. One is, if you look at this, okay, I need this clear, open, smooth channel that runs the entire length of the eye wire for the lower portion of my figure 8 liner to slide in and move around. If that is damaged for some reason, if during the course of the damage that pushed that lens out in the first place, this got damaged somewhere, that cord is never going to go back through that frame. If it's a cheap frame to begin with and it's been worn for 25 years and that person's been sweating on it and the entire channel is corroded, it's rough, it's coarse, it's caked with stuff, the figure 8 liner is not going to go back through there. Now, I'll talk a little bit more about this at the bench. People talk about lubricants like an oil of some kind, soap. There's a tool that we're going to try. None of it really works all that well. Once you've gone past this, you try. I mean, you really do give it a good try, but there are alternatives. I mean, you should have some some old stuff laying around that didn't sell, really a low-end couple of pieces that you keep for, emergencies. If you're at the 10%, you've spent 25 minutes, half an hour trying on this, and you've tried every trick in the book, and it's just not going to work, well, just switch to another alternative. When doing this, your thumbnail is probably your best tool. I'm going to show you this tool, and sometimes you do end up using the little jeweler's pliers and PD sticks, and you name it, everything we try to get that figure eight liner to go through when it's stubborn like this, but generally your thumbnail is a pretty good choice. Like I talked about with the restring, if you are in a difficult situation, cut enough when the going gets tough. If you finally get that figure eight to work its way all the way around the top of the eye wire, and you've used tools, it's going to have pinches in it, it's going to have cuts, it's going to have your thumbnail marks. Pull enough through. Don't shortcut yourself so that you can pull that damaged part through finally, clip it off where all the damage is, and then slide that back piece back in so that you've got a good clean figure eight liner. Let's go over that stuff on the bench. I had mentioned that there are some variations of design on figure eight liner, or a way to retain a lens that's been grooved, and I only have two of those three. First, let me show you this one. This is the carrier that I was talking about. If I have this is a plastic piece that snaps into the frame, and then this actually carries the tongue that goes into the groove, and that is something that can be actually removed. Another one is this is that pro design that I was talking about. This is T-liner. This is the flat piece that has the tongue on it, and that sits into this super smooth groove right here. This is the tool that I was talking about. And, you know, I think there's always been something like this floating around the place I worked. Honestly, I never knew how to use it until I got this one from Sios, and they showed a picture of it in use, and I said, well, that still doesn't look right to me. I can't imagine that works. So I went ahead and I did my little QR code thing here, and I went to their website where I watched a video showing how to use the tool. So I'm going to show you how it works, or we're going to find out if it works, actually. I'm still not completely convinced, but we're going to find out. Let's just go ahead and do that. All right, so if I have, it says if I have some figure eight, and I need to get it in that groove, I can use this to actually press it in place. Let's see if that actually works. I'm not sure exactly how you would use this for a stubborn redo, since it can't really do corners, but it does work, certainly works well here in this flat section, and with practice, I'm sure I could sort it out. I'm squeezing and pulling and pressing here all at the same time. Once I got it started, it seems if I could ease up a little bit on the handles and kind of draw it along the top of the cord, it presses it in place. Well, I'll be darned, it does. Look at that. Son of a gun. All right. Well, that's a good thing to know. All right, basic restring stuff. Let's go ahead and do that. But let's assume that this frame is old and chewed up and going to give me trouble. So I'm going to give myself enough to go that, and then about halfway around again. And just like my restring, I'm going to cut this at the sharpest possible angle that I can to get it going. Kind of see how incredibly sharp I've got that. And then I'm going to go ahead and see. Now, shape is going to matter a lot on how difficult this is to do. The more sharp the angle is of a frame, the more curvature there is, sharp curves to go around. Any squared off areas, it's going to be a whole lot harder. First thing to do is just kind of start feeding that in. This is going just super, super smooth, so nice. If it wasn't, I would be grabbing it with my fingernail, perhaps now using a plier like this. People use a PD stick to bring it along. But this is going in really nice, so I'm just going to keep running with it. Of course, as friction builds on the other side, it becomes more difficult. So I'm still not through to the other side yet, but I am now, so that's good. I'm going to clip my end here clean, flat. I'm going to pull it back through. Now it wants to fight me a little bit. There we go. Still not past that hole a little bit. Little tiny bit more. All right. Now what I want this to do is actually sit up behind this as well. So what I need to do in that case is pull this through a bit, trim off my excess, and push it through. This is the perfect time to use your thumbnail and get it up there. All right, I'm clear of my hole, and that would be my figure 8 liner replaced. Again, I mentioned before, really stubborn jobs, people have talked about using soap of some kind of as a lubricant, a little bit of vegetable oil. You don't want to use any kind of mechanical oil because those tend to smell, and they may actually also degrade your plastic. So we covered how to restring a cord mount frame already. That's just a little bit on figure 8. If you're watching me on YouTube, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button down there in the corner. If you're watching us on Facebook, please do give us a like and make absolutely certain that every lens that requires figure 8 liner in your life comes from Laramy-K. I will see you again next week.